Here's a question almost nobody can answer. How do you prove to a stranger that something happened at a specific moment in time without asking anyone to take your word for it? Think about it. The date on a photo, a timestamp on a file, a receipt, an email, a screenshot. Now they all seem like valid options, but most of these options can be faked, backdated, or quietly changed later. For the entire history of the internet, proving when something happened meant trusting somebody, a bank, a company, a government clock. In 2009, a person we've never met solved that problem. And the wild part, most people think they built digital money. What they actually built first was a clock. What's going on, guys? This is Kev from 21 Sat Street, and right here is part one of a mini-series that I decided to compile together. So over the next few videos, we're going to break this down, the Timechain calendar. Now, you've probably seen, your favorite YouTubers or your favorite Bitcoin YouTubers pull this up, and as they talk about block heights and the difficulty rate adjustment and all that, most of you might be scratching your head and you're like, what is this? And I can say that from personal experience myself. So it looks, maybe for some it looks simple or it looks complicated. There's a live counter, some dates, a countdown. But hiding inside it is one of the strangest and most beautiful ideas in technology. A calendar that doesn't run on the sun or the seasons or any government say so. It runs on Bitcoin. And I promise you, you don't need to own any Bitcoin or care about getting rich for this to be genuinely fascinating. We're not here to sell you anything, we're here to understand a clock. So let's start with the name, because the name gives the whole game away. You probably heard the word blockchain. It's everywhere. Banks use it. Company startups or crypto startups slap it on everything. It became kind of a buzzword. Here's something almost nobody knows. The person who invented Bitcoin, they went by the name Satoshi Nakamoto. Never used the word blockchain, not once. We can actually check this. The original white paper is public, and you can search it up yourself. I'll even leave a link in the description down below. The word blockchain, it is not in there. Not once, but here's the word that is all over it. Timestamp. 14 times. There's an entire section titled Timestamp Server. Satoshi wasn't fixated on a chain of blocks, he was fixated on time. Proving when something happened and in what order. So where does the word time chain actually come from? Well, it's not in the white paper. In fact, it's in the early version of the code Satoshi shared privately with a handful of reviewers before Bitcoin even launched. Tucked into the notes describing the whole system is one word: time chain. And that's what the inventor called it. Not a chain of blocks, a chain of time. The word started saying blockchain later and it stuck. But the original idea, the one baked into the very first code, was about time. Once you see that, you can't unsee it, because it changes what Bitcoin even is. Let me explain why time is the key word with a simple problem. Imagine two people both claim they sent the same dollar to two different places at the same instant. Who actually went first? In the real world, we ask a bank, and the bank's record settled it. We trust the bank to keep honest time. But what if there's no bank? What if it's just strangers on the internet, none who trust each other? Now, who went first becomes impossible, unless you have a clock that everyone agrees on and nobody can cheat. Well, that's the thing that Satoshi built. Here's how it works in plain terms. Roughly every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network bundles up everything that just happened into a block. Think of it like a page in a ledger. Each new page gets stamped and then glued on top of the last one. Not just placed on top, mathematically locked. So you can't pull an old page out and swap it out without redoing every single page stacked above it. And redoing that work would cost an absurd, almost impossible amount of energy and computing power. So the past just sets, like concrete, page after page, 10 minutes forever. A permanent public record of what happened and in what order. That's a clock. A clock made of stacked, locked-in moments. A clock no single person, company, or country controls, because it runs by tens of thousands of computers all over the world at once. That's the time chain. So now look at this calendar again. That number going up, that's not a countdown someone programmed. That's the real heartbeat of the Bitcoin network. The current page number in a ledger that's been stacking uninterrupted since January 2009. Every one of those blocks is a timestamp the whole world can verify and nobody can forge, which means for the first time in history, we have a way to prove when without trusting who. And that opens up something genuinely strange and kind of poetic. A calendar where the unit of time isn't a day or a month, it's a block. Where your birthday isn't just a date, it's a specific block frozen in that tower. In the next video, we're going to dig into that heartbeat itself. Why 10 minutes? How does a network of strangers keep a steady rhythm with no conductor? It turns out there's a self-correcting mechanism that keeps this clock honest. I have to say, it's clever as hell. If a clock nobody owns made something click for you, subscribe so you don't miss it. Once again, I'm Kevin from 21 Sat Street. Peace.